Really good, thanks.
Uh,
How are you? Hi, Louis.
hey Mary, how you going?
Really good, thanks.
Uh,
How are you?
yeah. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning here. I get too much sleep.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I get too much sleep. I keep waking up. Mary, I was
Yes?
talking to Father Themi the other day. Are you in self quarantine? Are you self isolation?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm fine. What happened was I went to visit I won't mention names. I went to visit a family, and their child goes to school, and I very rarely visit anyone here, but it just so happened that the other day I went to visit them. They invited me, and their child goes to the same school as one of the doctors who has um, coronavirus. She's the second case in this country, she's a very prominent female doctor. I've met her before. I met her. You remember Issa?
Yeah, of course.
Remember the little boy? Well, she was one of the main doctors there at the cottage when Issa was there. So I had met her many a times, and we had spoken many a times about this case. She unfortunately got coronavirus. She's fine. She's in the hospital being looked after. She's got mild symptoms of it, but her daughter goes to the same school, so she had to tell everyone that she had any connection with, that they had to be tested and self-isolate themselves. So because I went to visit last Sunday this family, and the little girl goes to the school, and she happens to be a friend of this doctor's daughter, I had to self-isolate myself, and for 2 weeks. So next Friday, I don't seem to have any symptoms at all, but next Friday will be the last day that I need to self-isolate. The doctor comes and he takes my temperature. He checks my pulse. He checks everything, and I'm not showing any signs. And look, and I know I'm not going to have any signs, but you know, we pray to God. God is great, and He knows what He's doing. But yeah, that's what I have to do. So when I go out, which I'm allowed to go out, but I have to wear a mask and gloves, but I don't do that. I just stay at home.
And the whole country's in lockdown. How are our people going? How are the orphans? How are the poor? You know, the disabled. How are they feeling?
Yeah. Look, you know, excuse me. Here in Tower Hill, Father Themi and I are fine. You know, we're just, as you said, locked down. We work, we're college work at home. I'm listening to the BBC on my transistor. I'm cooking and baking a lot for our guards, because the guards are here day and night and they can't move. So I'm trying to help them out with food as well. Yeah, look, the orphans in Waterloo, look, they're being taken care of. We've got the 3 matrons. We knew this lockdown was going to happen. We knew that, so we planned for their food intake for the next 3 days, and the matrons have shopped and have prepared the food. Yes, there is no electricity, there is no television, but our children will be in the compound, and they'll find ways to amuse themselves. I'm sure of that. They can read books. We've given them bikes so they can ride their bikes around the compound. No one's allowed outside. The ones that I worry more about is we have some Orthodox Youth Fellowship boys, not so much the girls, but it happens to be the boys that have been orphaned. And they're at the age of 19, 20, 21, 22, and they're students. And as you know, under the scholarships program that we have, we pay for their studies, we pay for their books, we even pay a little bit of their transport, but not for their food, or you know, that's not part of the scholarship program. So I know, look, I can think of 7 to 8 just from the top of my head that you know, they're a little bit at risk. Some of them came last night to me, and I did give them some money. And but Louis, they have to fend for themselves, and that's why, in many ways, they are much more resilient than you and me or people in the Western world, because they do have to fend for themselves. And with the little that they have, they've got to try and survive. And that's what it's all about here. It's survival. It's about having enough to eat. It's not about having TVs or some enjoyment or entertainment in your house. That's got nothing to do with it. It's got to do with, do you have enough water? Do you have enough food? That's the main thing. And if you do, you're a very blessed person here. Most people, unfortunately, here, about 95% of the people are not in that category. They are, you know, poor. I can think of, for example, our Crew Bay people, our slum people, and the poor people. I mean, they earn very little money. And I can tell you right now, Louis, prices are going up. Food prices are going up. I don't know about the rest of the world, but here they are. Just the other day, I was talking to one of our drivers, and he was telling me that a sack of rice has jumped from 180,000 leones to 220 overnight, and some sacks of rice have also jumped to 300. That's almost double the price. These people can't afford these things. So, you know, difficult times ahead. Food prices are going up. There will soon be a shortage. It hasn't hit us yet, but there will be a shortage soon. You know, I know that I went the other day before all of this to buy some flour so I can bake bread and be able to share the bread with other people. And I could not find, or I could hardly find any flour. I found 2 sacks of flour, which I bought immediately, but that's it. All the flour is gone. So it's here at the moment. It's about, even though we're on lockdown, it's about how are these people going to survive even after the lockdown, because the concern is, and the challenge is, will they have enough food to survive? And of course, once you get weak and once you're not able to look after yourself, that's when the big dangers occur. So,
how do people like in Crew Bay, how do they practice social distancing? I mean, it's a small area.
Yeah, it's very difficult. That's why I'll be honest with you. At the moment, I'm not going to Crew Bay, but we know why, because of that social distancing. Sorry, very difficult because they're living on top of each other. And if you have a society where, you know, everybody is part of your family, your next door neighbors, and everyone is included in, because of the poor conditions, very poor conditions indeed. And if you have food, then you share your food with other people. Social distancing doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. They can't afford masks. They can't afford gloves. Just the fact that, you know, Father Themi and I are now wearing gloves and masks. But just that very fact. I mean, they can't afford these things. They can't do these things unless they have people who buy them for them. But how can you buy masks and gloves for Crew Bay? I mean, it's 25,000 people in there living all together on top of each other. It's an extraordinary situation. I know you know, schools have closed. All schools have closed. All educational institutions have closed. You know, you can imagine now the children running around in Crew Bay because there is no school, because, you know, they're all in danger, Louis. That's all I can say. Everyone in there in danger. And God forbid, if anyone in Crew Bay gets COVID-19, coronavirus, that's it. That's it. God forbid. That's the African challenge. All African nations are saying the same thing. The slum areas must not get coronavirus, because if they get the coronavirus, then there's a big problem. And of course, you know that airports are closed, everything is closed. Here at the moment, even the hospitals are not taking any patients. The doctors have said that there is a particular phone number. This is the government hospitals. There's a particular phone number, 117, that we're to call if we have any symptoms, and they will tell people what to do next. But hospitals are not taking anyone.
Father Themi told me that all the doctors have gone on strike. All the private practices or anybody like that, they went on strike because of what happened during Ebola. Is that right?
Yeah. What they're saying, I'm not too sure if they've gone on strike, but what I've heard is, what they're saying is that because during the Ebola period, doctors were not looked after by the government, and a lot of the doctors and nurses who were practicing and helping the Ebola patients died, and their families, the doctors and nurses' families that survived, were not looked after by the government and are really struggling now, even though, you know, these doctors were heroic and died for the sake of saving other people. So now the doctors here are saying, it's not only the private doctors, it's also the government doctors. They're saying right now, you won't look after us. You won't look after our families either. We've seen it. We've seen it because we know through Ebola. So what we're going to do is we're not going to take any coronavirus or COVID-19 patients in our hospitals. We're closing the doors. And if you want anyone to come into the hospital, if the government forces us to accept any patient with coronavirus, we're moving out. We're going to strike.
What about our mission doctor? Is he still working, or?
Yeah, our mission doctor is working. He comes and sees me. Today he can't because it's a lockdown. From today on to Tuesday, no one is moving around. So he's not coming, but he comes every day. He's the one who's taking my temperature and making sure that drinking a lot of liquids, etc. He comes and he gives us the latest news and he tries to guide us into what to do. It's very difficult here because as we mentioned before, the social distancing is almost non-existent. We have to be very careful, and also the sanitation. Even though in our compounds, all our compounds, we have sanitation areas for everybody to use. That is water, running water, and soap. I constantly buy soap. That is liquid soap, not cake soap, liquid soap. And so people have to wash their hands and have to before they enter any of our compounds. But even so, you know, it's very difficult because, okay, our compound has it, our compounds have it. Even before church, you know, when we used to go to church, well, it's still that we would use it. But what about all the millions that do not have the money to buy the soap and do not have the money to have the buckets of water to be used? So it is a problem here, a challenge here with sanitation. So Crew Bay and all the slum areas, that's the biggest problem. Biggest problem.
And is church still happening, or church is locked down as well?
Church is locked down, but we're the people that are here in the compound, we're still going to church.
Mm-hmm. So the people that live on the compound, yeah.
Because it's our home. It's our home. We can do that.
Yeah.
We can church. Yeah. But
how's the new house? You enjoying it? Is it better than the old one?
Yeah. Look, I'm in seventh heaven. It's wonderful, and as I said, the beauty is that I'm able to cook for a lot of people now, because before it was rather difficult. It was a little strenuous, but now and I can see the need for me to do that here. I've been baking bread, Louis. I've been baking biscuits for the people, all of the Lent things, and it's been good, because I've been able to share with our guards and whoever comes to us here. So now I'm very happy. I cannot complain. I have everything here that I possibly could need. I'm one of the blessed people in this world. So all I want to do is to help others. Truly, Louis, lots of things are going to happen. This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning now. And a lot of things will be happening soon, and I think we've only got 6 cases of COVID-19 here in this country. Once it really hits us, and it will, it'll be traumatic, absolutely traumatic.
Well, we're all suffering at the moment. Some of us more than others.
I know, and I think of that, and you know what, Father Themi and I were speaking. It's about. The Western world have not had really any suffering like this before. So your resilience is much less than the African people. The African people suffer every day. They know this. And so their resilience is higher. So in many ways, they'll be able to move on much quicker than the Western world, because there's an acceptance of suffering here. Whereas the Western world doesn't accept suffering. It runs away from suffering. Whereas in Africa...
I was just thinking how I'm suffering because I can't go out and have a cup of coffee with my mates.
Yes. Yeah. For you, that's called suffering. For us here, that's not suffering. That's unfortunate. Suffering here is about lack of everything, lack of money, lack of food, lack of water, lack of electricity, and trying to build, bring up a family. And it's really difficult. So in many ways, God knows what He's doing, and He will make us stronger, all of us, much stronger for the future.
Well, here in Australia, in America, and the rest of the world, we're all getting paid to stay at home by our governments. The biggest problem we have is the biggest problem we have is getting toilet paper and going to the supermarkets and finding the shelves empty. So instead of having our normal food, we've got to have different types of food. Difficult to walk, to drive around. Hospitals are inundated by COVID-19. America's drowning in it. Australia is okay at the moment. Hopefully we'll, as they say, we're pushing down the curve. Different parts of Europe are having a hard time, like Italy and Spain.
I know.
It's just amazing how, I remember during the Ebola crisis, watching it on TV, listening to you and Father Themi talk about it. This is crazy for the West for it to happen, but we still don't know how lucky we are compared to the rest of the world.
Absolutely. Fancy not working and being paid by the government. Man, oh man, that's unbelievable. No, these things don't happen here. Don't work, no money. That's the problem. The government here doesn't give you anything. If it's not for people, for the NGOs, if it's not for people like Father Themi and the mission, seriously speaking, Louis, Africa would be starving. It's about people like Father Themi and missions that help the people of and I don't mean to be political, that help, but the government itself has needs for them, have needs here to, I don't know what they do with the money, but they have certain needs. I know that they've got a lot, they're getting money for coronavirus, so that's good. They'll be able to get respiratory machines, because we only had one respiratory machine in the whole of this country.
Wow.
So someone has given one only. We only had one. Now we've got 7.
Oh, goodness me. Goodness me.
Yeah, they bought 6 other ones. So, testing kits, we didn't have any. So somebody gave them money. I don't know who it is, gives the government money. And now we've got, thousands of testing kits. But before we had nothing. Absolutely. We weren't prepared for it. Although I will say maybe mentally we were more prepared for it than the West. But as far as resources were concerned, we weren't prepared for it. But mentally, I think we were because of Ebola.
Yeah. The experience.
Yeah. Yeah, experience, yeah.
All right, sister. Look, I just wanted to ring.
Okay.
Hello. And
thank you, Louis. God bless you. God bless you. And I think of all the people in Australia. I really do. I have many friends there in Australia, and I do keep in contact with them, and I can imagine what they're going through. So we pray that everything works out for all of us, because it's all about, us now helping each other and making sure that everyone is safe. So that's the whole point of it.
Father Themi would be happy to be locked in his room for a few days without having to leave.
Yes,